What's going on, guys? It's Steve without Susanna. Yeah, she couldn't make it to this video. We were initially going to do a live stream, but we're kind of running a little tight on time. So I said I would make a more traditional video. It's something I haven't done in so long. Since this whole pandemic, whatever you want to call it, started. Everything that we've been doing essentially has been live streams, which is fine. We enjoy them. Have a lot of fun doing live streams. And maybe we'll do one here the next day or two. But for this video, obviously it's not live, but it's going to be just as much fun. And what I wanted to discuss in this video is something that we normally don't talk about here at Mouse Secrets, because it's usually just not that interesting for you guys and for myself too. But it's the Walt Disney or the Disney Company conference call or earnings call after earnings. Did I say that right? I hope I said that right. But yeah, anyway, it's the earnings call. And so when Disney reports on how their quarter went, their fiscal quarter, and we were hoping to get a little nugget of some type of idea about what the plans are for Disney, when they're planning to open, when maybe, I don't know. We know it's not happening anytime soon, but maybe when a cruise ship is planning to leave out of Port Canaveral again. So anyway, I listened in on the call, tried to take some notes. I was trying to share those some of these notes into the Facebook group. It's a little hard, though, at the same time as I'm trying to listen to the call and type it up on the screen at the same time. But either way, I just wanted to kind of discuss the conference call, because we did get a lot of information. I think it's a lot of information that you kind of got to dig into and kind of look for those little pieces and extract those pieces. And, there's a lot of, with a company like Disney, with a lot of companies, you're going to get a lot of side talk. And, sometimes you have to take some of that side talk and make sure that, you have to pull something out of that side talk anyway, pull the info. So anyway, let's just take a look. So basically, essentially, and let me check my little notes here. I've got my notes. Let's see. Obviously, the conference call wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest announcements from Disney, but one of the big, the standout things, I think it's the CNBC headline is, they saw a 58% drop in operating income. Make sure I titled that correctly. 58% drop in operating income, obviously due to park closure, cruise line closure, movie studio closure, sports closure. I mean, you name it. I mean, Disney's being impacted. Well, look, when you're an entertainment company in the pandemic, it's probably the worst position to be in, or it's the worst field to be in. And, honestly, everything that Disney does is human contact to contact, person to person. So it's impacting them really, really, really bad. But anyway, okay, so huge. That was kind of expected. That's why the stock didn't crater. It definitely went down in the after hours. The share prices dropped in the after hours, but I don't think they dropped like, oh my God, 58%. I mean, Wall Street was expecting it. Shareholders were expecting it. Analysts were expecting it. So one of the other, kind of big, share things for you stock people that own some shares in Disney. I'm sure y'all already know this because y'all are following it, but Disney suspended their dividend for this summer. Summer dividend is suspended, canceled. They are estimating, I think, Bob Chapek said they estimate that's going to save them around just about $1 billion, or just over or under. I can't remember in the call, but Disney needs capital. They're raising capital any way they can, and one way for them to raise capital is not to give it to the shareholders. Hold on to that dividend. So that was a big one. What else? Let me see how I want to do this. Maybe, let's see. If I go into my Facebook group, that might actually make it easier, because I had just kind of started to list some of what they were stating there, so that might help. Let's jump over there real quick. Make sure that we are there. Okay. Okay, yeah. So one of the big questions was, obviously, if you guys never listen to these type of calls, if it's not something you're familiar with, generally the people that are going to get to ask questions are going to be big institutional investors like Morgan Stanley, like Bank of America, Wells Fargo. I think UBS asked questions. Now, the questions come, obviously, at the end of the conference call. Or I don't know how obvious that is if you've never listened to a call. But generally, the CEO or the CFO, they'll make their statements. They'll talk about the position of the company, the current status of the company, where it's going, what it's going through. And then they'll open up the line to some questions. But I guess before I even start kind of going through some of the questions that were asked, some of the general things that were brought up. Okay, so obviously, dividend canceled. Do-do-do-do. The big news to come out, I guess. So the big news for us theme park fans, the big news is, because we're all looking for opening dates. Shanghai Disney. We got a opening date for Shanghai. Shanghai is opening on May 11th. Now, today's the 5th, so it's less than a week's notice. That's 1 week's notice, just under a week's notice. Now, from what I understand, their version, and look, I'm no expert on Shanghai, but like their version of like their Disney Springs or whatever you want to call it, that's been open now for maybe the last 7-10 days, limited via social distancing. I've seen pictures online of the social distancing that they've set up at Shanghai. I'm assuming some of you guys have probably seen those same images where like they've marked the floor. We say 6 feet for social distancing, but everyone else is in meters. I believe it's 2 meters. So they have like, they've already shown like some of the queues and lines being marked for social distancing in Shanghai. The gist I got from the conference call is Shanghai is going to be theme park experiment ground zero. I think this is where a lot of experimentation is going to take place, is in Shanghai. So either way, Shanghai is going to open it in an extraordinarily limited capacity. And Bob Chapek was asked about that, and I wrote it down, in line with the government, with the Chinese government. The Chinese government is allowing them to operate at 30% capacity. I feel like he said on the call that park maximum capacity is about 80,000. So you do the math with what 30% is of that. Now, Bob Chapek said when they first open, they're going to be well under even the 30%. Disney's taking it upon themselves to go well below 30% capacity. Good for them. Now, the reason why Bob Chapek said obviously they want to do that is they don't want to have an issue with long queues, queues to purchase tickets to enter the park, queues for quick service meals, all of that type of stuff, by drastically limiting the capacity. I mean, 30% is drastically limited, but when you go even below 30%, and he didn't give an exact percent of how low they're going, but I mean, considering initial opening for Shanghai is going to be at a super limited capacity for guests to enter the parks. Now, he said that could go on for weeks, hopefully not longer, hopefully the sooner. It's kind of an experiment. They're going to open the park, they're going to look for spikes in cases. Do people get sick? Do people stay okay? That type of thing. So now an interesting thing he brought up about Shanghai as well was the masks. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there in the Disney community are very, very, very concerned with the masks. Unfortunately, it's almost like the mask has almost become like a political thing a little bit, where for some people, the masks, let me think how I want to say this. It's controversial, in other words. Like the masks have almost become controversial. Some people want to wear them, and they feel like if they wear them, you should wear them, because the theory behind the mask obviously is, if I wear one, I'm protecting you, and if you wear one, you're protecting me. The problem is you have another group of people. No one's right or wrong, in my opinion. Everyone has the right to think how they want to think, but they feel like this is, stepping on their rights. You're forcing them to do something that they don't believe helps anything, and they don't want to wear the mask. So I understand that. But anyway, so with the Shanghai situation, I want to say Bob Iger, because Bob Iger was on the call. He only spoke at the beginning, didn't answer the questions. The questions did go to Chapek. But Chapek said that masks will be required by guests and by cast members. Now, close contact cast members. And it was even brought up, the question was brought up about, face characters. Let me back up. So, yes, guests will wear face masks. Cast members will wear face masks. I'm assuming cast members operating attractions, working in retail locations, working in quick service locations, sanitation workers. You can imagine what I'm talking about there. But face characters, your Sleeping Beauty, your Snow White, your Beauty and the Beast, your Aladdin, whatever, those characters won't wear face masks. But also, he said they won't wear face masks because they're going to be at a safe distance from guests. So obviously, I think that kind of puts an on character meet and greets in the opening phases of the park, And again, I'm just taking what the vibe I got is Shanghai is, like I said, the experiment for how things are going to go for the rest of the parks around the world. So take that way, that most likely a lot of you guys are asking, will there be meet and greets? I say no. It doesn't sound like there's going to be meet and greets. It sounds like there will be characters, but you won't be able to get close enough to them for them to have to justify wearing a face mask. So that was interesting, I thought. We did get that little nugget out of there. Now, a question was brought up to Bob Chapek about multiple times, multiple institutional investors, multiple banks. They asked questions really specific to what the plan is for reopening the parks here. And Bob Chapek basically said that, look, to reopen the parks, let's say for Orlando, for example, he needs to be able to see a positive, like the parks aren't going to reopen if it's negative for Disney, is what he's saying. In other words, like if Disney won't make money opening Walt Disney World, they're not going to reopen it. And I've kind of been saying that since day one, like they could turn the place on tomorrow, but if there's just not enough people that feel like it's safe, or there's not enough people that live in Dallas, Texas, that want to board an airplane, they don't feel safe to board an airplane to fly here, Disney's not going to open. It costs too much money to operate that place. You know, salaries, insurance, taxes, utilities. I mean, y'all know the deal. Take what you pay out to live and multiply that times 10 billion. That's what it costs to operate Disney every day. So basically, that's what he said. He kept using the term positive contribution, and Disney will not open if there's no positive contribution to the company. He said that he needs to see significant positive contribution. And he needs to see a significant pent-up demand. So, of course, Disney, the master marketers that they are, the awesome marketers that Disney is, they need to see that there's a pent-up demand for tourists to come here. You know, I think, I don't know what the stat is, but I feel like Disney World is 80%, north of 80% out-of-town visitors. More than 80%. I don't know if that's out of state. I can't remember. But either way, coming out of Orlando area, more than 80% travel to get here. So people need to feel safe, number one, to move through airports, to fly here and so forth. They need to know that people are going to be, that they're willing to come here. There needs to be a demand to come. So he wants to know there's a positive contribution to the company. In other words, is there going to be more than 6% capacity? You know, I think there will be. I think from what I've been reading, and I think I was reading from some tourism association yesterday. Now, of course, tourism association, they're obviously going to be pushing tourism, but their research shows that there's a huge pent-up demand for people to travel. But saying that you're going to travel is one thing, actually doing it is another. So Disney is obviously looking at that for reopening the parks. Something else that was interesting on this conference call, and it's something I think a lot of people have thought about. It's something that's hard to grasp, but it's about the cruise lines. I feel like maybe that was Bank of America. Don't quote me on that. I don't really feel like digging back through my notes to see which bank. I don't think that's significant to the question. But anyway, institutional investor, I'll say that, asked, what about canceling the future for DCL cruise line ships, the new ships coming on board in the next couple of years? And they didn't specifically say anything about canceling the ship or that's something that they actually want to do. What they did bring up, though, was that they believe, number one, DCL, cruise line, is the last part of their company that they're bringing on. That's the last segment of their business. That's the last segment of the Disney company that they feel will be online. It'll come back online, which is common sense, I think. It just, pandemic virus, we saw how bad it was with the princess or whatever it is called. I can't remember now. But you guys know there was a lot of people that became ill that were traced back to these cruise lines. People were basically sitting there just absorbing virus for days. They couldn't get off the ship, and it just spreads like wildfire. Look at the Navy. How many sick soldiers we've had, sick sailors we've had. I mean, it just spreads like wildfire on those cruise ships, through the AC systems, through the ventilation, blah, blah, blah. So the cruise lines look like Disney Cruise Line is going to be the last segment to come back online. Obviously, there was no hint of when that would take place. I personally don't even think it's going to happen this year. That's just my opinion, unless there's some miracle, some cure, some vaccine comes. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. It would be awful PR. I mean, I know it's, it could be bad PR in a park, but there's something about people just if you're not a cruiser, the vibes I've gotten are for people that are not cruisers, they think it's absolutely bizarre that someone would even contemplate getting on a cruise ship right now. So I think Disney understands that, and they don't want that bad press or something. But they didn't mention anything about, they didn't say they were going to cancel any of the new ships. What they said is that it was the last part or last segment of the business that would go back live. And let me think what, wow, I'm having a brain freeze here. The last segment that they said was going to go live, but what else? There's something else I want to say about Cruise Line, and I'm totally forgetting now. Well, hold on, it'll come back to me in a second. I'm sure that'll come back. But let me just leave Cruise Line here for a second and go to movies, because they talked about movie production, studio production. Of course, entertainment is shut down across all realms, whether the theme park or cruise ship. Of course, television and movie production is shut down as well. So that was brought up. There is no timeline for restarting Disney movie production, whether you talk about Marvel or whatever studio you want to discuss. Again, it was the same type of thing. They said it has to be, it has to be a positive contribution to the company. It has to make sense with social distancing. Can actors social distance? How does an actor social distance on the set of a movie? I mean, that's kind of weird. That's difficult. So I think, that's why they don't have a date for when they're actually going to resume production. But, okay. So I know what I want to do. Let me go back to Cruise Line. It just came back to me. I don't know. I'm trying to film this in a way that I normally don't film, which is with no editing, no cuts. So you're watching me do this for the first time where I just let it flow. I just let it come out. So yeah, no editing or cuts in this video. This is just a straight make a video and I'm uploading it. But okay. So anyway, with Disney Cruise Line, the big thing was the Bob Chapek push, and so did the financial officer that was on the call. They believe that on the other side of this virus, far into the future though, I mean, I'm thinking they're talking like post-vaccine or cure or remedy or therapeutic, is that Cruise Line will take off again. And they said that the Cruise Line is, I guess when they do their marketing satisfactory, those little surveys and stuff that you take at the parks or they email you, it's their highest satisfactory rated segment of their company. And I believe that. I mean, I've cruised. I've never cruised actually with Disney. I've cruised on Royal many times, and everyone always tells you, oh, you got to do Disney. There's nothing like Disney. Like the Disney Cruise Line is way up here compared to everybody else. And I enjoy Royal, so I can imagine then Disney must be that much nicer. But either way, I've never heard someone say they didn't find anything satisfactory about a Disney cruise. So yeah, they have a lot of confidence in Disney Cruise Line. It's just not in the short term, not in the immediate. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So anyway, yes, movie production, no timeline to restarting movies, no timeline for that. Of course, like the positive out of the whole conference call is Disney Plus. Yeah, I mean Disney Plus, they've just it's rocking. People are home; they have to sign up and watch something. You only got you got Netflix, you got Disney Plus, I guess you got HBO coming here soon. But the thing with Disney Plus is you're going to run out of new content if you can't produce and make new movies and entertainment and television. Maybe there'll just be more of these Zoom productions like the Disney Sing-Along or something, which you guys actually seem to really, really enjoy. Let's see, what else? So they pressed on Bob Chapek more. They really, the vibe that I got from the call is these institutional investors, as well as us and small shareholders who obviously didn't get to ask questions, but everyone really wants to know, when is Walt Disney World opening? And I mean, there's a billion reasons why people want to know that, but obviously institutional investors, they have their reasons as well. So Bob Chapek had used a term earlier, I think, when they had asked him about like the positive contributions and this and that, certain signals. I think he used the term signal, I feel like. I'll have to go back and listen to the call, or you guys can listen to it. Maybe I'll link I'll link that in the description. I'll link the actual link to the call in the description if it's already been re-uploaded. Anyway, like what signals is Disney looking for, Disney World, I guess Disneyland, Disney World, whatever, for actually reopening? And they want to know, like, for pent-up demand at 50%. And I guess what they mean by that is they need to know that there's enough demand, their marketers feel like, that they can have 50% capacity. I guess if they're not at 50% capacity, they're losing money. Now, maybe they'll take a loss in the beginning just in order to bring in 20%, just so that they can help try to instill confidence in guests, like, hey, these people went, they didn't get sick, nothing happened to them. Okay, I'll go next month or something. I'm actually in that ballpark. I kind of don't want to be the sacrificial lamb. I don't want my wife to be the sacrificial lamb. I'd like to see some other people go first. I know it sounds kind of not nice, but, it is what it is. I probably feel, I think the way, not everybody feels, but a lot of people probably feel that way. Obviously, Disney knows their guests feel that way. That's why they're talking about this. But so they want to know that they can have like 50% capacity. And they brought up about the furloughed employees and what that meant. And basically what Bob Chapek said was that the demand will match how many or what percent of furloughed employees are brought back. So if they feel like they have 50% pent-up demand for guests to come visit Disney World, they will bring back 50% of their furloughed employees. In other words, if they're if 30% pent-up demand, they're not going to bring back 70% of their employees. And I have a bad feeling about that. That's you get furloughed. There's no guarantee you're ever coming back to your job. I hope for cast members that happens, but unfortunately, we know how this works. Companies a lot of time, and I'm not saying Disney is doing this. Let me say that first. But companies in the past, historically, will use, not only say pandemics, but they'll use a crisis as an excuse to lay people off or to furlough people because they just didn't want to do it, and they didn't want bad PR a year ago, but now they have an excuse to furlough and reduce their workforces. So I don't know. They kept throwing that out there that, they'll bring back, it's going to be a match, 40% capacity, we'll bring back 40% of our furloughed workforce. So, take that for however you want to interpret that or understand that. Another little interesting tidbit I think that came out would be dated ticketing. So talking about here in Orlando, what would be the deal with the parks, the annual pass holders, how do you control the capacity? And the way I understood it, the way I got it is, in Shanghai, they're going to have dated tickets. So you'll buy your ticket if you want to go on May 8th. You're going to buy your ticket. You're going to go on May 8th. That's kind of what you're up against or whatever. And I think that works. I think that works. But how does it work for annual pass holders, or do you just leave the annual pass holders out for now? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a weird one. They're a little bit, I don't know. Or you anticipate you're going to have a certain number of annual pass holders. That's what marketers' jobs are. They're supposed to determine demand or something, or help figure out what demand is or something. So maybe you do something like that, and you sell, I don't know. Maybe 60% of the tickets you sell are going to be dated tickets, and then you leave 40% of your capacity for your APs, local Florida APs or something. I don't know. It's a weird one. And obviously they don't know yet either. They're working on it. And I think Shanghai really is their experiment. They're going to see how things go in Shanghai, and they're going to take it from there. So that kind of, I feel like I've kind of summed up the conference call. I feel like I did. I hope I wasn't all over the board with it, but it just came out. I just wanted to throw this together real quick before I go watch TV for the evening, but I wanted to discuss what was on the call. So effectively, here's how I would sum up the call. It sucks. It sucks. Disney's in a bad position. Their conference call just confirms what I think everybody knows. It's not buried in pixie dust. Look, I like to be in pixie dust. I like to put myself in the magic. I like to bury my head in the sand and pretend like Disney is America. They're not going anywhere. Or Disney is this rock solid entity that will always be there. And I don't believe that Disney's not going anywhere. But what I will say is, and what the conference call lets you know, Disney is bleeding. They're bleeding. I mean, they're just bleeding. All segments of the company, aside from your Disney Plus, who's, they're getting the signups and stuff, but for longevity, you need production, and you need to be, sporting. They did talk about ESPN. I kind of blocked out that a little bit just because I was absorbing a lot of the call. But they're bleeding cash. So that's what came out of the call. Bleeding. Shanghai's opening May 11th. Dividend is cut for you guys that are shareholders. We got a little bit better understanding of the mask with Shanghai, that guests and cast members, I guess you could say frontline cast members, are going to wear the mask. Face characters, no masks. Talking about capacity, like Shanghai, I guess the government, it's 30% for Disney. However, Bob Chapek said in the first few weeks they're going to open well below 30% so that they don't have any queues. I guess it'll be easier to train new employees to implement these new social distancing protocols. this term that we like to hear. No dates yet for when DCL restarts. It's not happening anytime soon. I'd put that way back there in the far back reaches. Movie production, no dates on when movie production restarts. About the pent-up demand, like they need to see signals that there's going to be a lot of demand to even turn the lights on to restart Disney. And then about the day tickets. What else? So while the conference call was going on, let me make sure I got this here. Hold on one second. While the conference call was going on, from Disney Parks blog, the Disney Parks chief medical officer, and her name is Dr. Pam Hymel. I hope I'm saying that right, Dr. Hymel. This got released like right around the same time because they waited to put on there the whole phased reopening of Shanghai Disneyland May 11th. But it basically talked more about what's basically looking like for the parks, like what they're kind of looking at for reopening and how they're talking about for the phased reopening. So I kind of just wanted to skim this. Maybe I'll just read it. I'll just read it to you guys, because some of you guys I know just listen to this while you're working or something. So if you're curious, I will read to you these guidelines or what Disney is looking at for their reopening. So it says phased reopenings. It says we're looking at all of our locations and how best to begin the reopening process, including a gradual reopening and or a partial reopening for certain locations. For example, the opening of retail and dining locations prior to opening of our theme parks. Bam, there you go. There's your Disney Springs. I know a lot of you guys over the last week or two have been saying and theorizing that Disney Springs would open first. We saw that in Shanghai Disney. I always forget what they call like their shopping district there, but like their little downtown Disney shopping district's been open somewhat, I guess. I don't know. I don't follow it that closely. I know it's been open a little bit over the last few days or week. But anyway, to me, that sums up like the idea is to open the retail and the dining locations first. You open up Disney Springs. A lot of those stores are third-party stores or independent stores. I'm sure they want to reopen. Disney Springs, you can just park your car, you get out, you walk in. You don't have to worry about using mass transportation. I take that back if you're a guest in a resort, that's another story. But this is talking about, I think, reopening this even before resorts open. There you go. I mean, it shows what direction they're looking at, which is to open Disney Springs first. Let's see. Physical distancing and capacity measures. It says, as you can imagine, managing guest density in queues, restaurants, hotels, ride vehicles, and other facilities throughout the park and across the resort is a major focus as we implement physical distancing guidelines based on guidance from health authorities such as the CDC and appropriate agencies. This will likely include an implementation of guest capacity measures to comply with state federal guidelines. We're also exploring ways to use technology to aid us in these efforts, like our Play Disney Parks app and through virtual queues at Disneyland and World. I don't think that's a surprise. I think we all knew that, the Disney would be implementing virtual queues, especially in the busier attractions or the attractions where the queues are inside of a building where you don't necessarily want to have people all in a tight building. I think of like Flight of Passage. Do you want to be in that cave or whatever you call it? It's tight. You got people on top of you. You got switchbacks. You know what a switchback is? That's where the line goes down. You get to the end of the queue or the stanchions, and then you come back to the stanchion this way. It's a lot of this, a lot of moving like this, and may not want that. So I'm assuming technology is your magic bands for paying. Talking about limited capacity, we already saw like what the plan is with Shanghai. Government tells you 30%. I don't think Florida is going to give Disney, it doesn't sound like, or Universal and SeaWorld an actual percent. They, if you guys aren't familiar, Orange County Task Force has been meeting here in Florida for the last week or so, or a week and a half now, and they're basically giving the mass or the big places like Disney, the big boys like Universal, letting them implement their own social distancing guidelines a little bit. They almost feel like the parks know what they need to do better than a government employee, which I think is the case a lot of times, but that's another subject. Anyway, so yes, so they're discussing virtual queues and park capacity issues and so forth. And maybe that's where you're going to get into those dated tickets, which is interesting. And then I wonder, like, if you're selling single day dated tickets, Do you sell them at a lower price? Because there's been all those rumors out there, I'm sure you guys have seen, about no parades, no indoor shows, no character meet and greets, that type of thing. That really means a lot to a lot of people. So a lot of people just may be like, hey, I don't want to buy a ticket right now. I want to wait till I can experience everything. Let's see, cleanliness and sanitation. It says, we're planning increased cleaning and disinfection, determining where that should take place. For example, in high traffic areas, and the cleaning products and processes we'll use. I think that's kind of a given. I mean, you're going to have to do more cleaning than what they already do. Look, Disney in the past, I feel like, was known for its cleanliness. Have they fallen off a little bit over the last few years? Yeah, it's no surprise. I mean, I personally have been out to the parks many times where the trash cans are overflowing. They haven't been emptied. Now, is that because they don't have enough cast members and sanitation working? Is that a management problem? Or is that just indicative that Disney has been so crowded for the last couple of years? They've just been so busy. They just didn't have enough cast members to keep up with the large crowds. But either way, yeah, there's going to be a lot of cleaning, a lot of cleaning hand railings, doors. I don't know. You just imagine, think about everything you touch in your daily life. Imagine what you touch in a theme park. It's a lot. It's a lot. Next bullet point, screening and prevention support. It says, we'll follow guidance from the government and the medical community regarding enhanced screening procedures and prevention measures, including those related to personal protective equipment, PPE, such as face coverings. Some measures, like adding hand sanitizer and hand washing stations across our resorts, have already been implemented. Right. Yeah, right before Disney closed, they put out those little portable hand washing and sanitation, and a lot more of the sanitation dispensers or whatever, hand sanitizer dispensers. Face coverings, I think we got an idea I would assume what they're going to do in Shanghai with the guest and cast members, frontline cast members wearing face masks, not N95s. We're talking about just like the cloth covers, some type of cover. That's what we'll see. Now, one of the other screening, there's been a lot of rumors floating around, and I don't know if you guys, or I'm sure some of you guys have seen some of the rumors, but, temperature checks. I feel like temperature checks, and it seems like a lot of people feel the same way. It's kind of like it makes you feel good, but it doesn't really help. Because look, 99% of what we're hearing from the media is this virus is so bad because people are asymptomatic. I mean, look at some of these nursing homes. When they test all of the people inside of a nursing home, there's an outbreak, it comes back to like 40, 50, 60% of the people also have this virus, and they have no idea because they're asymptomatic. And that's all across the board, even on these cruise ships, military ships, everything. There's just so many people. Look at New York, they're asymptomatic, and now they're saying in Southern California. So taking people's temperatures, I don't think that helps. But if it helps, maybe it does. I'm not a doctor. That's where that finger prick, obviously Disney didn't kind of mention that, but there's been the rumors around that, I think, Universal sent out their thing about a quick 15-minute coronavirus test. I think most people shoot that down. They don't think it's realistic. There's no way to implement a test like that. How do you scale that to 40 to 70,000 people a day at Walt Disney World, if not more? I mean, it would be more, I guess. I don't know, but no way. I don't see that happening. And then the last bullet point, it says cash training. It says we are further emphasizing our strong culture of health and safety amongst our cast members, and will continue to provide new training and reinforcement as we get closer to reopening. That's a whole other thing to talk about. I mean, we're really putting a lot of responsibility on these cast members. Health, like their, guest health. We're putting guest health on these cast members. It's significant, So, but anyway, this came out right around the same. Actually, I think it came out during the conference call, so it's interesting. So I think we can kind of take from the conference call and apply it to this, and you get an idea of what you're looking at here in Disney. But my big thing I got from the conference call was we have no idea when we're opening. That's what I got. We have no idea until they have this pent-up demand. And I know within the Disney community, there's a pent-up demand. But don't forget, we can't rely on the Disney community to open Disney. We need to have, especially in Disney World, we need to know that we're going to have people coming from out of state, boarding airplanes, people that just want to take a vacation. Not everyone that comes to Disney World, collects ears and doonies and magic bands. A lot of people that come to Disney World, it's their one and only trips. And Disney relies on them. And if someone's taking their one and only trip, I mean, would you come right now? Like, if you know that they're going to be making you wear a mask and your child wear a mask? I don't even know what the deal is with that. I don't think nobody brought that up about, like, do children wear masks too or something? So, you know what? Why I've got this video going, I want to see if I can find something here. I posted to our little Facebook group. Speaking of that, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, do join. I try to share a lot of good info in there. I'll leave the link for it. It's in the description. Where is this little post? Okay, so make sure that I credit the correct person here. So I had posted this earlier. It's from WDW Pro, who I have been told is a very reputable Disney insider, who's been doing some posts, I guess, for a long time, but I've just started kind of following some of his rumored posts that seem to come pretty true. And let me see here. So he had posted this, I believe, yesterday. I want to hold on one second. Okay. Well, I think I posted the whole thing right. Here's my link. It's okay. He's on WDW Magic, so let's click the link. I wanted to read this. Basically, this was okay. So WDW Pro is a very reputable Disney insider who's on Disney WDW Magic forums. He posts on there regularly, and I enjoy reading some of his speculation. But this is supposedly internal speculation. You know, I don't know. Maybe this guy is Bob Iger in disguise. maybe he's Bob Iger, you know, or maybe this is Mickey. Maybe Mickey Mouse is WW Pro and he's sharing with us some info. But anyway, I just want to read this because basically this was his post about what to look for during the earnings, and this was interesting. He had talked about like all the, for you guys that are Disney people, Lucasfilm people, y'all know all the stuff that's been going on the last week or two about the future of Lucasfilm and bringing in certain directors and stuff and the controversies of that. But nothing with Lucasfilm was mentioned. I think they even mentioned anything about pushing back Mulan. But I'm going to read, starting here with his bullet point number 3. And I'll read this all the way through for you guys. I thought it was very interesting. It brings up very interesting points. And I think you guys would be, if you're listening, you'll want to hear this. So, from WDW Pro, number 3, things to look for in the conference call. And I'm actually curious. I want to read this again to see if any of this was brought up. But anyway, so it says, Disney is still looking for an August reopening of the Magic Kingdom and Magic Kingdom resorts. I think that's very realistic because they definitely didn't, in my opinion, hint that they're opening any theme parks anytime soon. And that's something I'm going to close this video with. But they didn't hint at anything about opening Magic Kingdom or any parks anytime soon. It says there are some important data sets that are being monitored. First, Disney is watching early states with populous areas to see if there is a spike in cases. States that are being closely monitored include Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Colorado, and Texas. It says second, there's an important statistic that Disney is actively researching. Chance of transmission for mask to mask. Makes sense. I never really, I don't know what that is either. Currently, the number Disney has is 1.5%. So in other words, if I put on a mask, you put on a mask, I have coronavirus, what is the chance that you and I are in close contact? I give it to you. Now, I don't know where this data comes from. Maybe this comes from CDC or something. I have no idea. But essentially, it's saying that there's a 1.5% chance that I will transmit the virus via, just being around you through my mask, through your mask. Of course, he's saying this is not for a N95 mask. It says that the chance of adults transmitting the virus while both wearing masks 1.5%. That's currently too high to reopen the park safely. At that rate, you have a 1 in 67 chance of contracting the virus when in close proximity with others. And a theme park features far more than 67 close interactions in a single day, even if social distancing were at 50% capacity. Okay. If just one person is contagious, then you have a super spreader situation in Magic Kingdom. Another serious issue is reopening the parks prior to August is that children present a logistical problem to keeping masks on in an efficient manner. And even if you do wear masks all day with no problems, Alana Hall-Smith has been adamant that putting guests in July and August heat with a requirement to wear a mask is a recipe for disaster. What are you going to do if you have people passing out from heat while wearing a mask? What are you going to do if you have temperatures that are 98 degrees and you can't let people into cold indoor areas? So just know that while the target might be made in August, there's a chance that this has to go longer. I agree. I agree with, WW Pro. Sorry, WW Pro. I agree with you 100%. Okay. Yes, I do believe Disney does not want to be the guinea pig. They want to see what happens in general in Florida when people start going to work, Georgia, Tennessee, Shanghai Disney. They don't want Disney World to be the PR nightmare of 1,000 people contracted the virus and it gets traced back to Mickey Mouse. Horrible PR. Plus, Disney just doesn't want to do that. They care about guest safety. They always have really cared about guest safety. And they've never done anything that makes me think otherwise. If that transmission rate is correct, 1.5%, 1 in 67 chance, I mean, that's a pretty big chance of spreading to somebody. I don't know. That's a weird one. From what I can tell, just in our Facebook group and just from reading social media, a lot of people have no interest at all in wearing a mask. They just don't. My question is, what does Disney do with people that go into the park and take their mask off? How do you keep a mask on a child? Children are spreading the virus dramatically. There's even been studies in questions like, should grandparents hold their newborn babies? Or should grandchildren hug their grandparents? I mean, children spread the cold. Ask anyone that's got a child. I mean, when the baby gets sick, they catch it. When the child gets sick, they catch it. So can you imagine trying to keep a mask not only on yourself when it's 98 degrees, but on your 10-year-old or 6-year-old or whatever? It's a big problem. Yeah, I agree. The mask thing sounds a lot easier than what it is. That's my opinion. His bullet number 4, he says, Disneyland is essentially closed for 2020. Maybe it can reopen in November or December, but all the information I'm getting from contacts and friends says that's just not the case. Again, things can change with COVID-19 and the information we have on it, but as of now, it doesn't look good for Disneyland safely opening in the next 6 months. Whereas Walt Disney World is receiving maintenance and upkeep at acceptable show scale, Disneyland's a different story. This is interesting. It'll require major attention before it'll be at an acceptable level of care for reopening to guests. All attractions at Disneyland are powered down completely and are not receiving any maintenance. Interesting. Pathways inside Disneyland are not being cleaned very often, or are rather unsightly in places with bird droppings. Okay. There's actually a serious rat issue. I don't mean Mickey, he says. I'm not joking. He says, all food items have been removed from Disneyland from everywhere to combat the issue. And the radically few cast members still working at Disneyland have to bring their food and dispose of it in protocol. Dealing with rats. One of the concepts being molded to get Disney parks bringing in revenue back. We say that again. One of the concepts being molded to get Disney parks bringing in revenue again is to bring back non-expiration tickets. They didn't mention non-expiration, but of course they mentioned dated. If you enjoy stacking 10-day park hoppers with extras before and then adding, okay. What else? Temperature checks at Magic Kingdom and Magic Kingdom Resorts are going to be time-consuming. They are working on planning for 40,000 to 70,000 temperature checks per day when they first reopen, when you consider all the security checkpoints that will now include a medical screening. So I take this as a rumor. I take what WDW Pro says is a rumor because it is a rumor. This is on www.magic.com, but he's a reputable Disney insider, very well-known reputable Disney insider. Everything that he's mentioning here, it all makes sense. I don't think anything that's here doesn't make sense to me. Let's see here. Yeah, everything he says, none of it to me sounds off the wall. Nothing to me sounds crazy. From the conference call, I don't feel like they're planning to open the Magic Kingdom June 1st. That's my opinion. Maybe they're going to try to open Disney Springs. I know there were some people taking pictures of one of the parking garages over at Disney Springs, and that parking garage was allowing guests only. So people are assuming, not guests only, cast members only. So this week they've been allowing some cast members to come back to Disney Springs. Very well possible. I still don't think, I guess I could see Disney Springs opening. Fair enough. Okay. And then, we get the the doctor, the in-house the Disney doctor sends her thing out. So it sounds like, yes, Disney Springs is going to be first to go when something opens first. But Magic Kingdom, theme parks, it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm all for every business reopening, including Disney. I'm all for Disney reopening. But, you can social distance a shirt shop a lot easier than you can a theme park. A theme park is just a monster. I don't know. It's hard to control crowds when it's normally at Disney World. Just trying to, again, like I bring up, like, what do you do if someone doesn't want to wear a mask? I mean, look, you've seen the videos. People are fighting on the street. Like when I've got not me, but when someone's got a mask on and someone else doesn't, they get angry. Like, why aren't you wearing a mask? I'm wearing this for you. I don't know. Like, wow. I don't know. I want Disney opened as soon as possible, but let's be realistic. And I feel like Bob Chapek was giving us his most realistic, honest answer. We don't know. We just don't know, we don't know. Shanghai, there's the good news. Shanghai's opening. We'll study Shanghai. We'll implement all these things in Shanghai. We're going to see how it works in Shanghai. But for Orlando, again, you got to have people comfortable getting on airplanes. You got to have people comfortable traveling. A lot of, not just here in Florida. I mean, it's worldwide. People have lost jobs all around the world. Huge unemployment. A lot of people are not going to be in the financial position to take a Walt Disney World expensive vacation this summer. A lot of people are going to be hunting for work, looking for money to pay their rent, their mortgages, their bills. I mean, it's not, I know we sit around all the time. We talk about when Disney's going to open, There's a lot more things right now, I think, that are more important. Now, it's not more important look, Disney obviously is extraordinarily important. That's something I want to talk about. I mean, but for a lot of, you live in Chicago and you've been laid off. There's a lot more things that are important to you in Chicago right now than your 1 week Disney family vacation, and whether it's going to be going or not, or whether you're going to have to wear a mask in your Mickey picture. There's just a lot more important things. But no, I mean, Disney is in a position unlike any other company. And you could say that for two things. I think y'all probably were thinking I was going to say they're in a position like no other company because every aspect of them is shut down, which is true. I mean, Disney's in the fight for its life. It's up against the ropes at this point. But what I mean is everyone relies on Disney. So many entities, from individual people, cast members. Okay, think about Orlando. And I bring this up a lot. Like, think about Orlando. Every business tied to Disney tourism. All these hotel rooms, all these hotels are tied to Disney. All the employees of those hotels, everything revolves around on what happens with the mouse. If Disney is not open and the tourists aren't coming, a lot of businesses in Central Florida are going to struggle. And not even Central Florida, but the whole state of Florida, from Clearwater Beach to Tampa to Fort Lauderdale to Miami. There's a lot of people that they take a vacation to Florida, and Disney may be their primary destination, but they may want to spend a day in Daytona, a night at a hotel there, or they're going to spend the night or two in Tampa, or they're going to catch a game or something. I don't know. Like, people don't come to Florida if they can't come to Disney. I really feel that. And part of me is, I think Disney did a good job today by emphasizing we don't know when we're opening. These are the signals we need. We need these signals. We need pent-up demand. We need to know that we're going to be able to fill this place up when we turn. We need to know people are going to come eat when we turn the lights on, which is important. I think they needed to come out and say that. Now, they've done a good job already because they've been saying that we're just closing indefinitely. We don't know when we're opening. But they've allowed for a lot, including, I might be guilty, and we're all guilty of it, of speculation. Hey, I was able to book June 1st. That means they're opening June 1st. No, it just means they let you book June 1st, but they just might cancel you and push you out further to July or August. Because so much industry and so many people and employees of not just Disney, but employees of everything. I've brought it up before. I even think Universal and SeaWorld. SeaWorld's not going to open if Disney's not open, right? Why? Well, SeaWorld lives off of Disney, I think. They take that tiny percent of Disney guests and they bring them to SeaWorld. I don't think people are going to travel to Orlando for SeaWorld. It's not happening. So SeaWorld is relying on Disney. Universal, I think, is kind of in the same boat. A lot of people aren't going to go to Universal if Disney's closed. A lot of hotels aren't going to open if Disney's closed. If you only open Universal and not Disney, maybe a couple hotels are going to open, but Universal can't support this Florida economy. Disney World supports the Florida economy. Heck, it supports the Southeast sometimes, if you think about it. I mean, people travel all the way, people enjoy that drive coming down 95 on the East Coast to their Disney, I don't know, you stop in Jacksonville at the beaches and then you go into Disney, or you stop in Daytona and you go into Disney. I just think, like, if Disney really has an idea of when they're planning to open, like if it is August 1st, like WW Pro says, I almost think it would be the right thing for Disney to do, because they have so much, I don't want to say responsibility, because look, they're a company. And I know people hate hearing this, but companies are only responsible for one thing, and that's their shareholders, and making their shareholders more money. It's, it is what it is. I know a lot of people hate hearing that, but that's business 101. Disney is not responsible to you. They're not responsible to me, unless you're a shareholder. But, they're not responsible to, hey, come get your churro on June 1st or something to tell us that. But I just feel like if they want to do the right thing, and if they really do know, like, we're going to open August 1st, that's our goal, right? If they just said right now, our goal is we're going to reopen August 1st, provided this virus doesn't second wave and spike. That's another thing. Whatever. That's another thing, second wave spike. But if they know, like, look, if that doesn't happen, we're opening August 1st, then just say it. Hey, we're planning to open August 1st. I think, like, it helps. What about people that have vacations planned now, like June 1st? Do you cancel yet, or what do you do? I think common sense says they're probably not going to open, so cancel. But I don't even know why they're putting their guest in that situation. Why not just say it? I don't think anyone's going to be upset. Like, if you say we're planning to open August 1st, provided X happens, and we're not getting that yet. So maybe we'll get that soon. That's my take on it, though. I'd like to hear something from Disney about when they're planning to open. Like Applebee's. If Applebee's doesn't ever reopen, Applebee's doesn't hurt your city or hurt your state. There's other places to go eat if Applebee's never comes back after this. But Disney, you're talking about, like, it's a country. People they impact this country. They impact everything so much. They impact, who was it, Southwest Airlines, I feel like? Yeah, Southwest Airlines last week, the CEO said, like, normal air travel can't resume until we get things back like Disney World. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, they're that critical. They're that big. They're that important. They're a media conglomerate, international conglomerate. Like, if people have an idea, like, hey, August 1st is the day we're planning to relaunch this thing. We're going to do it, provided there's no, I don't know, there was some report out yesterday and the day before, I can't remember now, that within a month, we're going to double our deaths again. 3,000 people dying a day, 200,000 new cases a day. Now, I think that kind of got shot down a little bit today. Like, I think that came out of Johns Hopkins University, and they had even said, like, that was not factual. They hadn't entered the correct stuff into that model. They hadn't put everything with mitigation and that type of stuff in. So I don't know. I think that model maybe gets disregarded. And of course, Trump and his administration said that's not correct, or that's not an official thing from the United States or something. Anyway, whatever. If there's something floating around like that, though, and something like that were to happen, I don't think anyone's going to be angry at Disney come June 1st or June 10th if they're like, hey, we said we were going to open in August, but obviously things have hit the fan and we're pushing this thing to January. I think that's, at least I think people not deserve, I guess it's just they have such a huge impact, not only on their guests and all these thousands and thousands of furloughed people, but, also on all the other businesses that are basically in business to cater to Disney or to get their piece, like to work with Disney. The Hiltons, the Ramadas, the Marriotts, all these good neighbor hotels and restaurants and everything. Here in Orlando, it's crickets without Disney. So, but anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. But anyway, that's all I got to say. Did I keep it under an hour? I think I did. I think I kept it under an hour. I hope it didn't ramble too much. It's my first time doing this type of video, and I'm probably going to be doing these a lot more with the baby coming. I don't know how much time I'm going to have to do, like, gorgeously, perfectly Adobe Premiere edited videos, but you know what? I kind of like this. It kind of feels a little bit like the live stream where I can just talk off of my mind. If you want to listen to what I'm talking about, feel free to listen. If you want to disagree with every single thing I've said, feel free to disagree. I love reading y'all's comments. Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, what did you guys think of what came out of that conference call? Did you actually listen to it? And if you didn't listen to it, the stuff that I skimmed over, like the basics to it, does it make sense to you? Like, what do you think about Shanghai? What do you think about WW Pros, the Disney Insider's rumors about opening August 1st and keeping Disneyland shut down until January? What do you think about the heat? That's a problem, like if it's 95, look, it doesn't have to be that hot in Orlando, just the sun is hot. So if it's just a hot day at the park, and, if it's just a hot day at the park, normally what do? You go on Haunted Mansion, you cool off, or you ride Spaceship Earth, you cool off, or you go in Mouse Gear and you cool off, or you go to a gift shop on Main Street. You go somewhere with air conditioning. Keyword, air conditioning. But if they're through social distancing, maybe if they're putting stanchions and queues outside of those places, or if those certain attractions are not open because they're enclosed and stuff, where are you supposed to go and cool down? What are you supposed to do with your children that they don't overheat, but they got to put a mask over their face? What age has to wear the mask? I'm not opposed to the mask. I've been wearing a mask since I had gallbladder surgery back in January. Because in my mind, I always thought like, hey, you wear a mask because you don't get sick. Then I find out with the pandemic that it's to keep other people from getting sick. But I'm still wearing one. But I don't know. It's that's why I summed up the call as just kind of, it sucks. It was a sucky phone call. Disney's losing a lot of money. Obviously, shareholders aren't getting their dividends. Cruisers aren't getting to cruise. Parkers aren't getting to park. But the upside was Shanghai's opening. I don't think that was that big of a surprise, though, personally, other than we got the date of May 11th. And I think, we'll probably just get a lot of information out of what Shanghai looks like next week. What do the queues look like? What attractions do they open? What attractions do they close? Are there any good Disney vloggers in Shanghai? I have no idea. I need to make a contact with like a Disney live streamer in Shanghai. Maybe they can live stream to our channel, Shanghai. I'm curious what it looks like. I'm sure you guys are going to be curious too. But don't worry. I'm sure there'll be plenty of photos and videos or something circulating that we'll be able to take a look at. But so anyway, that's a wrap on the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Give the video the big old thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really helps out the channel. You guys know the deal. Like, share, subscribe. Hopefully this will all be a dream. In a few months from now, we'll be back doing regular old fun in the park, in the gift shop, Disney videos. But in the meantime, you guys take care, have fun, be safe. You guys know what to do. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Bye.